Good morning, Foxes. Good morning, Otters. I hope you're all well. Today we are on lesson 13 of our multiplication series of lessons. We are looking at using the formal written method, which we began in our last lesson. For our success criteria, we will need to be able to use an array to support our understanding. We will need to be able to create a multiplication grid, and we'll be able to need to use our knowledge of times tables to support our understanding. In the past, if we've had a problem such as 4 multiplied by 31, we have created our arrays. I would like you to do that again today. So we create our array, and when you look at this array, you might look at 4 times 30, and you might use your knowledge of 4 times 3 and then realize that this will end up in the hundreds column. So you will need to draw 3 columns, hundreds, tens, and ones. Write out our multiplication problem: 4 multiplied by 30, which is in the tens, and 4 multiplied by 1. Then we begin to solve using our counters. So 4 times 30, we have our 4 rows, and then the value of 30, so 10, 20, 30. Remember, the value of each counter is 10, and it's 4 times 1. So we just have our 4 individual counters, and each one's worth 1. We then begin to solve. 4 plus, if we look at this column, we realize that we may need to exchange, so we check. And if you want, you can count either individually, so 10, 20, 30, or you can count in groups of 30, or even 40 if you wish. I'm going to do it 30, so I've got 30, 60, 90, 120. Because I've got more than 100 in this column, I now know I need to exchange, so I will count up my 100 to exchange. So I've got 30, 60, 90, my 100 is there. I highlight that group and I exchange over 100 into the hundreds column. I double check just to make sure: 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. And you may mark them off as well, just to show that you've done that. Count up what's left: 10, 20. Don't forget the hundreds column, 100. And then I recombine 100 plus 20 plus 4, which equals 124. So that's been the traditional method that we've been using. But now we've started to look at using the multiplication grid method. When we've used the multiplication arrays, we've had to exchange across the columns. When we use the multiplication grid, it will look slightly different. So once again, you need to do your tens and your ones for your 2-digit number, partition. And then this time, don't draw the hundreds column. I just want you to do your tens and your ones. So this is for the multiplication grid, not the array. So we have our tens and our ones. We have 4 multiplied by 30 and 4 multiplied by 1. Now, when you work this out, instead of drawing your counters, you are just going to write the numeric value of the answer. So in this case, 4 times 30. Now, remember in the past, we've not actually taught you the 30 times tables. So you need to use your existing knowledge. So this is a multiple of 10. So instead of thinking 4 multiplied by 30, I would be thinking, what's 4 times 3? If you know what 4 times 3 is, in this case, the answer is 12. And then you turn that into a multiple of 10. So in this case, 4 times 30 will become 120. In the past, I've shown you your multiplication square. You can use this again. If you're not confident with your 3 or your 4 times tables, you can use your multiplication square to support your understanding. You would find the 4, you would multiply by the 3, and you would find the answer 12. Then you need to remember to convert that into a multiple of 10 to find the answer 120. You need to finish off 4 multiplied by 1. In this case, it's 4. You write the answers underneath: 120 plus 4, and then you end up with the answer 124. If you're not confident using mental math to solve this part of the problem, when you're using the multiplication grid method, you can use column addition. So in this case, I would write out in my number sentence 120 plus 4 equals. I would then do my hundreds, my tens, and my ones. And we just have ones here. I would then partition this number into my expanded column method. So I have 100 plus 20 plus 0, because we have 0 ones. Add. I have no hundreds. I have no tens. And I only have my 4. Then I would solve 0 plus 4 is 4. 20 plus 0 is 20. And 100 plus 0 is 100. And recombine that number into 124. Now for many of you this will be quite a simple process, but it is handy to remember this method for later on when we're doing larger, more complicated multiplication problems. For today's lesson, I would like you to solve the problems you will find below this video. I would like you to present your work in 2 different ways. First way would be using the multiplication array, and you will see that you have to exchange in many of these problems. And then I'd like to use the multiplication grid. Remember, you need to use your existing knowledge of multiplication to help you solve these problems. You don't solve 4 times 30, it's 4 times 3. You work out that answer, and from that you then work out the multiple of 10, which in this case would be 4 times 30, and the answer is 120. You can then either recombine the answer if you're confident with your addition, or you may use your expanded column method to solve that problem. So if you do it this way, you'll have 3 separate steps, 1, 2, and 3 before you solve them. Best of luck today.